The life of Nelson Mandela is the embodiment of tenacity. Mandela, who spent 2 decades in prison for fighting apartheid, never gave up hope. His unwavering character shows us that persistence can lead to success under the most difficult circumstances. Mandela famously remarked, "It always seems impossible until it's done," serving as a reminder that persistent adversity can result in great achievements. A few individuals in memory are equally illustrating the spirit of tenacity in the face of difficulty as Nelson Mandela. Racial segregation split the nation where Mandela was born, and he faced many challenges throughout his life. Mandela pledged to come to an end apartheid, the systematized oppression of races that existed in South Africa. When Nelson, as a young attorney activist, he battled the repressive state nonstop. In an effort to inspire others to push favor fundamental shifts, he co-founded the African National Congress Youth League. Mandela was detained in 1962 and given a life sentence in jail for his opposition to apartheid. He suffered in the inhumane conditions of Robben Island and other jails for 27 years. But he never wavered, not even in prison. Mandela's imprisonment wasn't in vain. He persisted in his pursuit of knowledge, seeing how it served as an effective instrument in the fight for justice for both himself and others. Inside these prisoner walls, his ongoing resolve served as an example of hope for millions. Here is the another point: is 0-1 forgiveness and reconciliation. Nelson Mandela's life serves as an example of the transformational potential of reconciliation and forgiveness. His incredible path from prison to president serves as a tale of mending national division. Mandela rose to fame as an activist committed to equal opportunity in a nation torn by the brutal apartheid system. In addition to dividing individuals, the country's racial segregation sowed deep seeds of mistrust and hatred. Mandela spent 27 years imprisoned as a consequence of his resistance to this brutal dictatorship. He endured unspeakable adversity throughout that time. Yet Mandela made the decision to forgive rather than hold grudges. During his years of confinement on the island of Robben Island, Nelson Mandela contemplated his vision for the future of South Africa. He came to see that genuine freedom was not possible to achieve by retribution, but only by cooperation and reconciliation. On the 11th of February, 1990, Mandela was eventually freed, and he left with a heart full of forgiveness. Instead of taking retribution on the people who hurt him, he reached out to them and gave peace and camaraderie. Mandela's first public speech set the tone for the future. He called for peace and reconciliation, urging South Africans to unite and build a new nation together. His message was clear: the past should not define the future. Mandela meant business when he said he was committed to rapprochement. He was in close communication with those who had supported the apartheid regime as well as his previous opponents. He proved that forgiveness was necessary for recovery and advancement by doing this. But one of Mandela's most significant initiatives was the establishment of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in 1995. This commission, led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu, aimed to uncover the truth about human rights violations during apartheid and foster healing through open dialogue. Both the perpetrators and the victims related their tales, frequently in vivid and agonizing accounts. Mandela thought that in order to move forward, it was imperative to face the past. The Commission's findings emphasized how crucial it is to own wrongs and extend amnesty in an effort to promote peace. Mandela's forgiveness-focused worldview contributed to the establishment of a new South Africa, where racial groups could live in harmony and work together. The Rainbow Nation he envisioned embraced both unity and diversity. Nelson persisted in advocating for peace throughout his administration. He realized that everyone, all its citizens, had worked collectively to create a nation that was prosperous and peaceful. His inclusive leadership style was characterized by a sincere desire to heal the rifts in society. Together with F.W. de Klerk, Nelson Mandela received the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1993 to their efforts to end apartheid and establish a democratic South Africa. Peace is not just the absence of conflict. Peace is the creation of an environment where all can flourish. Mandela stressed in his acceptance speech. Mandela left behind a legacy of healing and compassion that goes well beyond South Africa. He has motivated a great number of people and leaders all across the world to choose peace over discord or compassion over vengeance. Nelson Mandela's life demonstrates to us that forgiveness is a potent weapon of development rather than a signal of weakness. His story serves as an instance that genuine reconciliation needs bravery, compassion, and a will to let go of grudges from the past. Mandela, the late president, once stated, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." Let's continue his legacy in our own lives by making the decision to pardon and make amends. I know through his lesson that forgiveness and desire for reconciliation are the cornerstones of a path leading to peace and harmony. Here is the another point is 03, the power of education. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, stated Nelson Mandela once. Mandela was a living example of the transformational potential of education. Education was an instrument of oppression to South Africa under the time of apartheid. Equity gaps were widened and chances were restricted as a result of Black South Africans' systematic denial of access to high-quality education. Mandela realized early on that the path to emancipation lay in education. He was determined to finish his studies in spite of apartheid's restrictions. At the University of Fort Hare, where he got immersed in student activism, Mandela started his educational career. Mandela was able to oppose discrimination laws thanks to his legal knowledge. He was among the very first Black attorneys in South Africa, and he utilized his legal expertise to fight persistent injustices and stand up for the oppressed. Mandela was detained and given a life sentence in prison in 1962. He kept his belief in the importance of education for himself and his fellow inmates during his 27 years in prison. Nelson converted her Robben Island prison cell into a classroom. He learned law, read much, and inspired other prisoners to continue their studies. This dedication to learning in the face of these extreme hardships highlights the ability of education to foster optimism and fortitude. Mandela carried a vision for a more educated South Africa alongside him when he got out on February 11th while serving as president. He understood that universal access to high-quality education was essential to the country's future by dismantling its racially discriminatory educational system. He thought that the foundation of democracy and progress is education. Mandela frequently emphasized in his talks the transformational potential of education. In order to fulfill their aspirations and advance our nation, he urged young people to embrace education. Millions of South African kids now have greater access to educational opportunities as a result of Mandela's work. A more equal society was established as schools were integrated and educational funding rose. Mandela's dedication to education was acknowledged on a worldwide scale. His numerous degrees and honors served as a testament to his trust in the power to change of education for all. Global educational projects continue to draw inspiration from Mandela's legacy. His ongoing influence is seen in the relentless efforts of foundations and programs named in his honor to increase marginalized groups' access to education. The life of Nelson Mandela shows us that education is about more than merely picking up facts. It is an effective tool for societal change, individual empowerment, and advancement on a worldwide scale. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela. Let us honor his legacy by investing in education and empowering future generations to build a better world. Here is the another point is 04 leadership and vision. Nelson Mandela's life is a masterclass in leadership and vision. His unwavering commitment to justice and equality transformed not only South Africa but also the world. Mandela is an oasis of optimism throughout the gloomy segregation age. In his ideal South Africa, racial groups might coexist peacefully and equally. This mission, rather than merely a dream, dictated every move he took. When Mandela was a young lawyer in Johannesburg, he co-founded the African National Congress Youth League, which marked the beginning of his leadership career. His early activity was marked by a never-ending search for justice, even at the expense of personal danger. Mandela's commitment to his vision did not waver even during his 27 years in prison. Behind bars, he continued to inspire his fellow inmates, turning the harsh conditions of Robben Island into a university of sorts. Mandela's leadership shone through as he educated others and refined his vision for a free South Africa. When Mandela was released on February 11, 1990, he emerged not with bitterness, but with a renewed commitment to reconciliation and unity. His vision for a democratic South Africa was clear, and his leadership was instrumental in guiding the nation through its transition. Mandela's speeches resonated with millions, both in South Africa and around the world. His powerful words and steadfast vision inspired a global movement against racism and injustice. He emphasized that true leadership is about serving the people and being a unifying force. Mandela's capacity to unify individuals was an important aspect of his leadership. He engaged in negotiations with his erstwhile rivals, realizing that collaboration as well as compromise were essential to establishing a new nation. His all-encompassing strategy established the foundation for a united South Africa. As South Africa's first black president, Mandela implemented policies that reflected his vision of equality and justice. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which aimed to heal the nation by confronting its painful past. His leadership was crucial in steering South Africa towards democracy and peace. In 1993, Mandela was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, along with F.W. de Klerk, for their efforts in ending apartheid and laying the foundations for a new South Africa. Mandela's acceptance speech highlighted his unwavering commitment to peace and his vision of a just society. Mandela's influence extended far beyond South Africa. His vision and leadership inspired global movements for human rights and justice. Leaders around the world have drawn lessons from his example, recognizing that true leadership is rooted in integrity, compassion, and a commitment to the greater good. Nelson Mandela's life teaches us that visionary leadership is about more than just holding a position of power. It's about inspiring others, building bridges, and steadfastly pursuing a just and equitable world. A leader is like a shepherd. He stays behind the flock, letting the most nimble go out ahead, whereupon the others follow, not realizing that all along they are being directed from behind Nelson Mandela. Let us carry forward his legacy by embodying these principles in our own lives. We know with Mandela's lesson that great leadership and vision have the power to unify individuals, mend divisions in society as a whole, and motivate future generations to build a better world.